All right, so get this. We're going deep on Wicked today.
The 2024 film.
Yep, the Wiki article, all ready to go.
Oh, nice.
It's part 1 of 2,
Focusing on the first act.
Yeah, so like, origin story time.
We're going back to the beginning.
Before she was Wicked,
Right.
it's the story of the witches, but like before all that Oz stuff.
The Untold story.
Elphaba and Galinda. The Wicked Witch of the West.
And Glinda the Good.
Right. But before they were, well, good and wicked.
Back when they were just like roommates.
Yeah. Roommates at Shiz University.
Dealing with, typical college stuff.
Except with magic.
And flying monkeys.
Obviously. So the Wikipedia article gives us the plot, and it's pretty much the same as the musical, at least for this first part.
We see them navigating school, their friendship, all that.
And of course, Fiyero.
Ah, yes, fire. Gotta have the love triangle.
Gotta have it. Speaking of triangles, the Wicked story itself has been around, right? It's based on the Oz books, those classics by L. Frank Baum.
Right, but then Gregory Maguire wrote that novel in '95, Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West.
That's the one that really made Elphaba, well, Elphaba.
Yeah, it gave her some depth.
Yeah.
Made her more than just a villain.
And then the musical hit in 2003, which, boom, huge success.
Over 20 years on Broadway? That's insane.
So after years of, waiting and probably some behind-the-scenes stuff, we finally got the film. Universal Pictures, they announced it way back in 2012.
A long time coming.
But they really went all out with the casting. Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba, amazing.
And Ariana Grande as Glinda, genius.
Both incredible singers. And get this, they both kind of had some practice with Wicked songs before even getting cast.
Right. Grande sang The Wizard and I for that 15th anniversary thing.
And Erivo did Thank Goodness in a Wicked concert.
Meant to be, I guess.
Talk about preparation. And the rest of the cast is stellar, too. Jonathan Bailey, from Bridgerton, snagged the role of Fiyero.
Beat out some big names for that one.
And then there's Jeff Goldblum as the wizard. Come on, perfect.
Michelle Yeoh is Madame Morrible. Ethan Slater, the SpongeBob guy on Broadway, he's Buck.
Even Peter Dinklage is in it, voicing Dr. Dillerman, the talking goat.
They really got everyone.
Even snuck in some cameos from the original Broadway cast. Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth are in it.
How cool is that? All right, so they had to make some big choices to bring this massive musical to the screen. First one, 2 parts.
No way they could fit it all into one movie.
Way too much story. Director John M. Chu said it himself. Cramming it all in would have been a disaster.
Plus, those musical numbers need space to breathe.
Absolutely. And get this, Erivo and Grande, they insisted on recording their vocals live on set.
Wow, seriously?
Yeah, no lip syncing for them. And Simon Hayes, he won an Oscar for Les Miserables. He was the sound mixer.
So the vocals are top-notch.
Top-notch. Visually, they really went for it, too. Chu got inspired by Hook for the sets, lots of practical effects. They even planted, get this, 9 million tulips from Munchkinland.
9 million? Seriously?
9 million tulips? They built a whole train, too.
A real full-size train.
The unlimited one, it takes Elphaba and Glinda to the Emerald City. And of course, you gotta have the yellow brick road.
But a real one, right? With mud and all that.
Real mud, yep. Details matter. Chu also took inspiration from Pleasantville and The Truman Show for that whole Oz vibe.
Makes sense given the themes of, things not being what they seem. So did they change much from the stage version?
A bit. They added some stuff like more about Elphaba and Galinda's backstories. We meet her childhood nanny and even see a bit of Galinda's parents.
Fleshing out the characters a bit.
Right. Expanded some scenes too, like Elphaba's tutoring sessions with Madame Morrible. Oh, and get this. Fiyero and Elphaba's first meeting. Moved to the forest.
Interesting.
And dancing through life, it's a whole modern nightclub scene now.
A nightclub? In Oz. Okay, that's a change I wasn't expecting.
Ah.
What about the other musical numbers? Did they get a makeover?
One Short Day is huge now. They added a whole Wizomania production into it.
So more about the Wizard and the Grimmery.
Yeah, exactly. They really went all out with the adaptation.
Okay, now let's talk about the marketing blitz. I want to hear about the trailers, the posters, all the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Buckle up. It was a whirlwind. Remember those first look photos they dropped on social media? Erivo and Grande in their costumes for the first time?
Oh yeah, the internet went crazy.
It was everywhere. Then they showed some sneak peek footage at CinemaCon with little snippets of songs.
Just enough to get us hooked.
They went big for the Super Bowl, though. Remember that first trailer during Super Bowl Elevate? The music, the costumes, everything. It was epic.
I still get chills thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then they just kept the hype going. More footage at CinemaCon, behind-the-scenes stuff at the NBC Universal upfront, and then boom, that full 3-minute trailer in May.
Oh, and they did a Lego version of the trailer, too. Adorable.
I love that. And we can't forget the TV special, Defying Gravity, the curtain rises on Wicked, all the behind-the-scenes action, the interviews, the making of stuff.
A total dream for any Wicked fan.
NBC really went all in on the promotion, too. Remember that unlimited one train they had during the Olympics coverage? Cruising in front of the Eiffel Tower?
That was a smart move, playing the nostalgia card.
And the merchandise? It was everywhere. Clothes, toys, books, even a whole People magazine issue about Wicked.
They even had a Shiz University website.
I almost applied. Okay, now for the elephant in the room, the poster controversy.
Ah, yes, that was a whole thing.
The first poster, with Erivo and Grande recreating the original stage musical poster. Seemed like a nice tribute, right?
Some fans weren't happy, though. They criticized the design and started making their own fan edits, and, well, things kind of blew up from there.
Remember that edited image of Erivo that went viral? Cynthia Erivo did not hold back.
Rightfully so. She called it out for being offensive and erasing her.
It sparked a whole discussion about fan edits, AI, and art, and, the ethics of changing someone's appearance, especially a person of color.
It was a tough conversation, but an important one.
For sure. Ariana Grande was pretty cool about it, though. She said AI was conflicting and troublesome, but that fans were going to have fun and make their edits.
Very diplomatic.
And speaking of trouble, we got to talk about the Wicked Mattel dolls.
Oh, boy, those dolls.
Remember how snippets of Popular and Defying Gravity leaked through those dolls' sound chips?
Talk about a marketing fail.
And then there was that whole mess with the doll packaging linking to, well, let's just say an inappropriate website.
A PR nightmare for Mattel. Okay, let's move on to the actual release of the film.
Premiere time.
It premiered at the State Theatre in Sydney, Australia on November 3rd, 2024.
They had red carpets, custom gowns, even brought out the original Australian cast.
And then premieres in LA, Mexico City, and London.
Global Wicked Mania. The official release was November 21st in Australia and Mexico, and November 22nd in the U.S.
All the fancy formats, too. Real D3D, IMAX, Dolby Cinema. They even did a sing-along version on Christmas Day.
Wow. But it was a bumpy road to get to that release date, right?
Yeah.
Lots of delays.
Production issues, strategic decisions to avoid competing with other big movies.
They even had to move the release date up by 5 days to avoid going head-to-head with Moana 2.
Which meant they ended up opening on the same day as Gladiator II.
The Glicked phenomenon. Everyone was wondering if it would be as big as Barbenheimer. Risky move.
And they premiered it just 2 weeks after the 2024 U.S. presidential election.
Wow, that's some timing, especially given the film's themes.
Yeah, truth, power, challenging authority.
And when tickets went on sale October 9th, 2024, it was Fandango's #2 first-day pre-seller of the whole year.
And the #3 best first-day pre-seller for a PG-rated film ever.
The fans were ready. And those box office numbers. Through the roof. Biggest opening ever for a film based on a Broadway musical. Beat out Les Miserables even.
Huge success. But what about the critics?
Yeah, did they like it?
Mostly. Lots of praise for the performances, especially Erivo and Grande.
What did they say about the adaptation itself?
They loved it. Said it honored the stage production while bringing something new to the screen.
Any specific reviews that stood out?
Kyle Smith from the Wall Street Journal called it the most entertaining film of the year.
Wow, that's high praise.
And the most dazzling live-action Hollywood musical since Chicago. Jazz Tangkay from Variety called it a musical masterpiece.
Okay, so lots of love for Wicked. But were there any negative reviews?
A few. Some critics thought the visuals were a bit over the top.
Yeah, I could see that.
And some felt like the movie struggled to balance those lighter comedic moments with the heavier themes.
It's a tricky balance to strike.
But even Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, the original Elphaba and Glinda, they loved it.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, Chenoweth said it was so special, and Menzel praised how loving and respectful it was to the source material.
It's got to feel good getting their blessing.
Yeah, that's the ultimate stamp of approval.
Yeah.
But Wicked's impact goes beyond just the box office and reviews, you know.
Right. It sparked conversations, inspired trends.
LUK even had an article about how the film's themes of kindness, friendship, and acceptance resonated with people after the 2024 election.
It's interesting how art can connect with real-world events like that.
And remember that viral clip from the press tour where a journalist told Erivo and Grande that viewers were holding space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity?
Oh, yeah, that was powerful.
Showed how deeply people connect with this story. And then there was the What Is This Feeling choreography. Everyone was doing it on TikTok and Instagram.
It was everywhere. Okay, so besides all that buzz, what about awards and stuff? Did Wicked get any recognition?
Oh, yeah. It won Best Film at the National Board of Review, first fantasy film ever to do that.
Wow, that's huge.
Made it onto the American Film Institute's top 10 films of 2024 and got 4 nominations at the Golden Globes.
Not too shabby for a movie about a green witch.
And get this, for the international releases, they didn't just dub the film, they cast voice actors who had actually played Elphaba and Glinda in local stage productions.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, like in the Latin American Spanish dub, they got Dana Paola and Sechi de la Cueva. They were Elphaba and Glinda in the Mexican production.
That's so cool.
They did the same thing for the Brazilian, Portuguese, and Korean dubs, too.
Wow, so they really made an effort to make the dubbed versions feel authentic.
Absolutely. And in the Dutch dub, they even got Willemijn Verkijk and Chantal Jansen, who played Elphaba and Glinda in the original Dutch production, to do cameos.
That's amazing. What about countries where Wicked hadn't been staged yet? How did they handle the dubbing for those?
They got creative. They cast the voice actors who had dubbed Elsa from Frozen in those languages to voice Elphaba.
That's smart, connecting Elphaba to another iconic Idina Menzel role.
Exactly. And fun facts, they announced a first-time Norwegian production of Wicked to coincide with the film's release, even though the musical had never been staged in Norway before.
Wow, so the film's really generating global interest in the story.
Big time. Oh, and one more thing before I move on. In Kuwait, Wicked was actually pulled from some theaters.
Oh, why?
Public ethics concerns, but the article doesn't go into specifics.
That's interesting. I guess it shows that a film like Wicked, with its themes of challenging authority, can be seen differently in different cultures.
For sure. It's a reminder that art can be controversial and that the conversation doesn't end when the credits roll.
So we've covered a lot. Plot, casting, production, marketing, controversies, the release, the dubbing, even a bit of international intrigue. What a ride.
Oz is full of surprises. So where were we? Yes, box office numbers. Got to talk about the money.
Right. Did Wicked rake it in? Was it a blockbuster?
Oh, yeah. Big time. As of December 8th, 2024, over $457 million worldwide.
Wow. That's more than just defying gravity. That's defying expectations.
For sure. And it's John M. Chu's highest-grossing film so far.
And it beat Grease. Highest-grossing stage-to-screen adaptation ever in the U.S. and Canada. People love their musicals.
They do. And it wasn't just a big opening weekend. It kept going strong. Thanksgiving weekend, records broken. Black Friday, huge numbers.
Must have been that post-election magic. Everyone wanted a little escape.
Maybe. The timing was interesting, for sure. Releasing it just 2 weeks after the election, with all that talk about truth and power, Wicked felt, I don't know, relevant.
Yeah, it's like, are we seeing the whole story? Are we being manipulated?
Exactly. And the critics, they were mostly on board too.
Yeah, they loved it, right?
Loved it. Kyle Smith from the Wall Street Journal called it the most dazzling live-action Hollywood musical since Chicago.
That's quite a compliment.
And Jazz Tang Kay from Variety, she called it a musical masterpiece.
Okay, so the critics were impressed. What about the OGs? Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth. What did they think?
They loved it too. Gave it their blessing. Chenoweth thought it was so special, and Menzel said it was loving and respectful to the original.
That's got to be a relief, right? Getting the approval from the originals.
Totally. It shows they really cared about doing it right. And they also thought about the global audience, not just English speakers.
The dubbing, yeah. But it's more than just dubbing, right? They went the extra mile with those voice actors.
Oh, yeah, they cast actors who had actually played Elphaba and Glinda on stage in those countries.
So they really understood the characters.
Inside and out. Made those dubbed versions so much more authentic.
And for places where Wicked hadn't been staged, they got creative.
They did. They used the voice actors who had dubbed Elsa from Frozen in those languages to voice Elphaba.
Smart. Tapping into that Idina Menzel connection.
It's like a built-in fan base. And speaking of fan base, the films had a huge impact, not just box office, but culturally.
It got people talking, debating, thinking.
Yeah, remember that journalist who told Erivo and Grande that viewers were holding space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity?
Oh yeah, that was a cool moment.
It really showed how deeply people connect with this story, how much those lyrics mean to them, and the what is this feeling choreography. That was everywhere.
TikTok, Instagram, everyone was trying it out.
Wicked went viral in the best way. Plus, it got some serious recognition. Best film at the National Board of Review, first fantasy film to win that ever.
Amazing.
It made the American Film Institute's top 10 films of 2024, got 4 Golden Globe nominations.
So it's a critical success, a commercial success, and a cultural phenomenon. Not bad. Not bad at all. Oh, but before we get too carried away, there's that thing in Kuwait.
Right. Wicked got pulled from some theaters there.
Why? What happened?
Something about public ethics concerns, but the article doesn't really explain it.
Huh. That's weird. It does make you think, though, doesn't it? About how a story like Wicked, with its themes of rebellion and questioning authority, can be seen so differently in different parts of the world.
Definitely makes you think. Art can be powerful, and sometimes that power can be, well, a little too much for some people.
It reminds us that the conversation around art, especially something as big as Wicked, it doesn't just end when the credits roll.
Nope, it keeps going. And that's what we want to talk about next. What did you think of all this? What stood out to you? What surprised you? All right, so we've pretty much covered everything Wicked, haven't we?
I think so. The plot, the casting, those wild behind-the-scenes moments, the box office craziness, even how it resonated with people around the world.
Yeah, it's been quite a deep dive. But before we officially close the curtain on Oz, we want to hear from you.
Right, our listeners. What were your biggest takeaways? Did anything surprise you?
Did any of this change how you see the story? Or maybe something just stuck with you?
Was it the poster drama? Those Mattel dolls leaking songs?
Or those amazing musical numbers? They were pretty epic.
Or maybe it was that whole idea of questioning what we're told, like what's the real story?
Yeah, who's writing history? Who's deciding what's good and wicked?
Deep stuff. So, whatever stood out to you, let us know. Share your thoughts, connect with other fans.
Because these deep dives, they're all about, learning together, sharing our discoveries, and seeing things from different angles.
Exactly. And to keep those wheels turning, we want to leave you with a little something to ponder.
A final thought, something to take with you as you head back to, well, the non-Oz parts of your life.
So we talked about how Wicked makes us question those truths we're often told, right? Well, what about in your own world?
Are there any truths you've always accepted that maybe, deserve a second look?
Things you just took for granted, but maybe they're not so simple after all.
And how can you, in your own way, be a little bit wicked?
Defy gravity, challenge those narratives, and find your own truth. Something to think about.
Big thanks for joining us on this wicked adventure. We hope you learned a thing or two, maybe saw things a bit differently, and even felt a little inspired.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those conversations going.